keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage, and I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares, nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change, and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio Show. Once again with your host, Nick Bernabe, here on UCY.TV. Really happy to be back with you tonight. We got a great show in store for you. I'm joined tonight once again by Jake Anderson here in the studio. We've been missing you for the last couple shows, man. What have you been up to?
I've been missing you too, and I'm glad to be back in the saddle. I've been up in Tahoe shooting a short film, which is fun because I haven't made a movie in a while. It's a little sci-fi movie about corporations kind of owning your life. And yeah, man.
Wait, are you sure it's sci-fi, not a documentary?
Yeah, it could be a documentary. Yeah, I know you could view it as a documentary. It's kind of a near future take on when corporations, accumulate using their products. In this case, a washing machine, to accumulate basically biological data mining, as opposed to the current metadata mining. So they would accumulate your biological metadata and then use it to create versions of you that they can then mine for advertising fodder and whatnot. So a little crazy.
Interesting. Yeah. It's interesting. Which one was it? A lot of these DNA testing companies, 23andMe and Ancestry.com. There's a few others. A lot of them have that option in there where they say, hey, can we use your DNA for other purposes besides just testing to see your ethnicities and your heritage and all that kind of stuff. And that is really the next frontier in a lot of this data is DNA. Mapping out the DNA of people and who knows what in the future they could use that stuff for. We're going to kind of stay on topic here once we introduce our panel. We're joined by our longtime co-host DB Schwartz. What's up, DB?
Not much, man. That's an interesting premise, Jake. And
thank you.
It's funny that you mentioned about getting the metadata for that kind of stuff because they've already kind of done it. There was a lady named Henrietta Lacks who they took some of her DNA sequence and it was able to unlock cures to a lot of diseases. And they didn't pay her a dime, man. So one of the interesting things about 23andMe was it used to actually give you ownership of your own sequence because you purchased it. You purchased the running of it, so you owned it. And 23andMe got purchased by, I think, Microsoft, and they totally changed that and screwed it over. But yeah, I did 23andMe like 6-7 years ago before they changed all that stuff. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's a scary. It's there's no reason. I mean, they're patenting genes and even carbon nanotubes. So they're they're trying to own us.
The corporations will try to patent anything they can.
Anything they
right?
can,
And then again, it brings us back to this whole conversation about the TPP
Right.
and how that's going to further globalize patent law and
Absolutely.
monopolize patenting.
Yeah, I think that's one of the bigger TPP issues that's going under the radar.
And then, of course, you got the issue with genetically modified foods, and of course, the main villain in that sector is Monsanto, and they're well known for patenting genetics. Already, they're patenting genetics for a lot of their seeds and a lot of these traits and things like that, and then they're suing people for not licensing these genetics. And there's been several cases where farmers get taken to court because they're trying, they're not repurchasing seeds from Monsanto. They're trying to breed the seeds that they bought. And the argument Monsanto brings to court is that, hey, those are our genetics. We patented them. You have to license them from us every single year. And so that's a huge debate there, and very interesting. We're also joined tonight by our awesome journalist, Claire Bernish. What's up, Claire?
Not much. The Monsanto thing with the seeds, they also have been suing farmers when genetically modified seeds blow onto other people's property who are, say, organic farmers, and then they sue them for having their seeds on their property, even though it was nothing that they did. Like that happened in France.
Wow, that's interesting. Considering Monsanto says they're trying to feed the world, you think they'd be kind of happy that stuff is happening?
Yeah, I know.
I would think.
They're so altruistic
they're
and benevolent.
They're feeding the poor all around the world. Why are they suing people and have them shut down their farms and things like that? It's an interesting question. Anyway, first, we're going to stay on this kind of sci-fi futurist topic. Claire, you've got a great article up on the Anti-Media. It's our top story of the day regarding Stephen Hawking and this dire warning that he's kind of sending out there. And this isn't the first time. Jake's also written about it in the past as well. So we're gonna talk about this for a few minutes before we dive into what's going on in Flint and the elections and all the other stuff going on. But first, I want to talk about this Stephen Hawking. I guess it's more of a warning that he sent out, and it's really, really interesting because we got to remember this is one of the smartest individuals in the entire world, and he's got some insight for us. Claire, what can you tell us about that?
Well, he basically, he's a theoretical physicist, and as a scientist, it's interesting because he's warning society that the biggest threat to mankind is actually advancements. It is advancements in science and the like. He's basically saying that the more we advance and the more innovation that we create with science, the more of a chance there is that it can be corrupted. I mean, this warning really seems to be aimed kind of at the ruling class and the way that we carelessly kind of dive headfirst into innovation and implementation of projects and all these different developments without really researching them and taking the time to see what the effects will be on the planet. And that's led to a lot of different, kind of detrimental effects already. So this is really kind of a warning for the people in power that have the ability to implement these plans to kind of take it easy, because we might not be around much longer if things keep going the way they are. And if we can't get off this planet and colonize other planets, we're kind of going to be stuck in the after effects of everything that we've done to screw everything up here.
That to me was one of the things that really struck me the hardest out of this entire. I guess it was somewhat of an interview conducted by BBC. Was that he was basically saying, hey, you guys got to get off the planet because, whether it's going to be in the next 100 years, and that's what he's worried, that it's going to, something real bad is going to, something real horrible, man-made disaster is going to happen in the next 100 years, whether it's a nuclear war or the issue with the climate and the things we're doing with the climate, and he even mentioned genetically modified viruses that could get out of hand and things like that. The thing that really was trippy to me was that he was like, you guys got to start getting ready to colonize other planets because sooner or later, and he's basically saying that this is going to happen no matter what in the next 1,000 to 10,000 years, that sooner or later humanity is going to destroy the planet, and that you guys need to get off the planet so that the entire species doesn't die when you guys screw this thing up, and that to me kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, I mean, he's essentially saying that we've already done it. He hints that we could probably come up with solutions and sort of solve the problems that we've created, but that it doesn't seem like we're headed in that direction, and so we need to be actually literally headed off the planet.
Yeah, exactly. And looking here closer into the short term, and Jake has written about this pretty extensively in the past. One of his biggest fears, actually, Stephen Hawking, is that it's not so much the technology itself or the science itself. It's whose hands is this technology in, right? And that's the big problem, I think, is that we're looking at the U.S. government, we're looking at DARPA, we're looking at Monsanto, we're looking at General Dynamics, these companies with horrible track records and just a history of doing things that are pretty questionable morally, and in many ways just profiteering for money. And that's what Stephen Hawking is really worried about, is that it's not the technology itself, but it's who winds up owning or being in control of all this technology.
Right.
I didn't put this in the article, but I think that it should be said that I think he's saying that not only are basically the rulers and the people who have this technology careless in the implementation of it, and that is detrimental, but there's also the possibility of nefarious activity, the way that they the reasons, the motives behind what they're doing. So I think it's kind of a two-pronged warning.
Hello?
Yeah, Hawking did a Reddit AMA a few months ago, and I think this is pretty similar to the trajectory your article is on. He's basically talking about the peril of inequality expedited by automated machine-based global economic system, and his quote in the AMA, basically all he said was, this is what he said. He said, "If machines produce everything we need, the outcome will depend on how things are distributed. Everyone can enjoy a life of luxurious leisure if the machine-produced wealth is shared. Or most people can end up miserably poor if the machine owners successfully lobby against wealth redistribution. So far, the trend seems to be toward the second option, with technology driving ever-increasing inequality."
Very interesting, very interesting. I'm gonna elaborate a little more on this because there's some news that was just coming out the last 2 days that I'm going to talk about. First off, anyone calling in, we do have a caller on the line. We'll get to you in the order that you call in based on your area code. So once we're ready to have the caller on, we'll mention your area code, and then the floor will be yours. Hopefully you stay on topic. If not, we could talk about whatever you want to talk about. But just be patient with us, and we'll get to everyone that calls in order if we have time. I'll try to get to everybody, but I can't make any promises here. On that point that you're making there, Jake, there was some news that came out 2 days ago, and it's been continuously coming out, that by 2020, an additional 5 million jobs are going to be replaced in the United States by robots. And that's already, adding on to the amount of automation that's already there. I mean, who doesn't work? Anyone out there listening that's works in some kind of manufacturing industry, or even in the food industries, and you name the industry out there. Even in journalism, the AP now, many people don't even know this. The AP is using robots to generate stories at this point. And that's actually, this is really happening. Every industry now is being infiltrated by robotics, automation, artificial intelligence, algorithms, and things like that. So this technology, this I don't know how to refer to it. Robotics, robots. What's the best term to call this stuff?
I'd say just automation.
Automation. Okay. Automation is a major disruptor when it comes to the economy, and exactly what Stephen Hawking was worried about is that if the wrong people are in charge of this technology, well, then the rest of us are going to be pretty much screwed.
And of course they're in charge.
And so what's going on right now? Well, look at Amazon. Who's running Amazon's warehouse? Amazon's warehousing is done 90% by robotics. Their forklift operators are robots. They have robotic forklifts that go around and do their thing. Yeah, they're extremely efficient. That you got to buy the robot one time and you got to pay a nominal maintenance fee, but you don't got to pay it a salary. You don't got to pay it minimum wage. You see the kiosks now at McDonald's. I was at the.
You were at McDonald's?
I went to a store earlier. I went to a store earlier today, and I used the self checkout. There's a bunch of automation coming
Support
in.
the workers, Nick. You got to support the workers.
Well, there you go, man. There's a bunch of this stuff coming in that's going to be disrupting all these economic models and stuff that we were so used to since the Industrial Revolution. Now, the Industrial Revolution really was kind of a big step forward in automation itself, but it really empowered. It empowered not empowered, but it created a bunch of demand for labor. Now we're coming into the next major evolution in the labor, which is now this automated revolution. We had the Industrial Revolution. Now we're coming into this automated revolution. And unless something is done to address this issue of automation inequality, I guess we can call it, the working public, the working class, the middle class, I mean, we can expect pretty much all of the jobs to be replaced in the near future. Not by 2020 maybe. That's only 4 years away. But in the next 15, 20 years, I mean, dude, every manual labor job is going to be replaced by some type of robot.
Right. Right now it's about reappropriating the term wealth redistribution, because currently it's used by the ruling classes to argue against tax codes that would redistribute wealth, which is what they call it. But the real wealth redistribution has happened over the last 30 years in favor of the ruling classes. So we have to get people to start realizing, and Claire, I think you wrote an article yesterday or the day before about how many people now own the absurd amount of wealth that is owned by an absurdly small number of people, which is stunning. What was the number again?
62 people own more than the bottom half of the entire planet.
62 people own more than half the planet. I mean, that's just, there's no universe, sci-fi or otherwise, in which that can be considered a logical way for the human race to be conducting itself.
Jake,
that's only the Forbes too. Remember that there's people that are unnamed and unlisted that have multitudes of what's on paper.
You guys are sounding like a bunch of socialists. You just got to pull your bootstraps up, work hard.
Hey, call it what,
and you'll be a billionaire someday too. Don't worry about it.
Call it whatever you want. You can call me a fascist. You can call me a communist. You can call me a socialist. Whatever we're doing right now ain't working, and anyone with a brain can see it. And it's time to. And Stephen Hawking, Noam Chomsky, people with big old juicy brains are coming out and they're warning. And these people are old, and they're about to shuffle off the planet, and they're telling us they've seen a vision of the next 100 years, and it's our destruction, and we have to change.
Yeah, man. There's thinkers on the left and right and the center. You got moderates on the right like Rand Paul, and moderates on the left like Bernie Sanders that have that are at least they're giving a voice to some of these economic issues that need to be talked about, whether it's the Federal Reserve or it's the corporate control of electoral politics and that kind of thing. And at least you have those people out there. And as you said, man, you got one of the smartest individuals in the world, Stephen Hawking, airing his voice out. You got the top philosophers like Noam Chomsky, the best journalists and lawyers like Glenn Greenwald, really calling this stuff out. I mean, it's got to the point now where it's just getting ridiculous, and it's about to get a lot worse unless something is done. And think about this, and this is one topic that is kind of left unturned many times. But the future of labor unions, when you add this automation takeover into the equation, I mean, what role is the labor union going to have in the future when all manual labor is done by automation? DB, what do you think about that, man? All right, DB must be.
Nick,
must be taking a coffee break.
I wrote a facetious article, Onion style, a while back about it was a fake review of the first movie directed by an artificial intelligence, and the crux of the joke being that even the creative process in Hollywood is going to be outsourced to machines and artificial intelligence. And man, that's a very, very real possibility.
Yeah. It really is, man.
The thing about unions too, I didn't actually include any of it in the report on the 62 people who own half the world, but that was actually cited rather extensively for being part of the problem in the first place, is the destruction and dismantling of unions, because that has done away with rights for workers all over the world, and so wages fall and everything else, and then wealth just naturally migrates and is pushed upward to this tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of people.
Yeah, unions now have a bad rap, and for legitimate reasons. I mean, unions, like any other bureaucracy, they're easily corruptible, and now many of the big mainstream unions have more or less become just machinery for the Democratic Party, and they're the type of people that, some of these unions are backing Hillary Clinton, and things like that, and so that's a major concern as well. But we can't deny the fact that labor unions played a major role in workers' rights movements throughout history, especially since the Industrial Revolution. I mean, think about the labor practices. They still go on today in third world countries, but during the Industrial Revolution, you had children working in these huge factories, kids working 16-hour days. I mean, no overtime, all these abuses of labor and stuff like that. And labor unions really came in and helped change that. Now, of course, the labor unions nowadays have been co-opted and all that kind of thing. But automation is going to put labor unions completely out of business. And this is something that needs to be thought about. And I just can't stress this automation takeover enough. Now, what is the way forward here? Like, what is the solution to this automation issue? Well, I think that what we need to focus on is getting the workers to own at least partial ownership of the robots and of the automation, so that they can kind of, when their jobs are replaced by these robots, well, then the workers that are losing their jobs own part of that robot, so they still get the productivity that they used to have from their old jobs, and now they don't have to do that job, but they still benefit from the productiveness. And then if we were to get into that kind of economy, then you can start seeing a real type of more of a utopian type of economy, where the robots take care of all the hard work and everyone else gets to focus on more creative stuff and live the life how they want to live, because their food and all their electricity and everything that they need is made by the robots, and they don't have to go out and do that work themselves. They could focus on creative stuff, ideas, inventions, art, music, things like that. I mean, imagine that kind of world, but that's not the trajectory that we're in right now, man. The trajectory we're in is Amazon, Google, DARPA owning all this technology, and the rest of us kind of screwed, losing our jobs, and then we're going to be all dependent on government welfare, and that comes along with its own set of risk factors, including the fact that you can't really be civil disobedient against the government when you're on the welfare from that government, you know what I'm saying? And so, these are all factors to think about. Now I want to bring a couple of these callers in. The caller from 226, you've been on the line for a while. How's it going? Do you want to join this conversation?
Hey, is this me?
Yeah, that's you.
Hey, what's going on? I would love to join.
Go for it. You're live.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad I listened in a little bit, because I kind of just saw the number and called. Okay, so you guys are talking about basically like Stephen Hawking addressing the whole automation thing. It's like the topic.
Yeah, that's what we're on right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I just have to say that I don't think automation in itself is a bad thing. Like, clearly we can get a lot done with automated, like robots doing our work for us. But people were talking about the whole 60-something, and I actually never got that number that it's like 60-something people owning. What did you say it was, like half the world, or is it more than that? 62 individuals. Yeah.
The 62 richest individuals own the same amount of wealth as the bottom half of the rest of the world.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was thinking you could probably get an even more astounding statistic out of just like what the Queen of England owns, because she owns like, I don't even know, I'm not going to try, I don't want to sound stupid, but she owns a lot of shit. So, excuse my French there. But yeah, I just think that the solution is obviously what we're doing right now, raising awareness to the fact that we can't continue to siphon our money all into this giant government system that decides what to do with it, because here's what I'll say is I feel like the most important thing for people is to be on the same page. So like-minded people simply need to establish some sort of equality, some sort of system where there's equality, because clearly the intelligent people, like what we all truly want before like anything like fancy would just be like equality, right? So
Yeah, you know,
I
food,
feel like
shelter,
yeah,
water.
exactly. Yeah. Like the necessities for life have never been provided and will never be provided to us 100%, you know. It's funny to think about how, like, even just a couple generations ago, our entire existence was concentrated on survival, right? And now it's spiraled up into, like, chilling on, you know, Instagram or whatever all day. And, like, for me personally, I can say a lot just out of my personal, like, the way I feel on a day-to-day basis is, like, I want to be productive, right? But I just don't always have the ability to be productive, right? Yeah, so if we all come together and at least establish, like, what we want and don't want, or what we agree with and don't agree with, like, if you get all those people together, then that's going to be basically, like, it'll be whatever it is, whatever you want it to be, right? Like, if I'm some huge pothead and I want to just, you know, smoke myself silly for the rest of my life, and thousands of other people wanted, yeah, exactly, and thousands of other people want to do that, then those people should all be getting together. But yeah, basically it's like we can't, right? Because we're in the system and we all have, like, jobs at these locations, and you can't, like, get together often enough to kind of.
I think you brought up a great point at the beginning of your call. Thanks again for calling in. We're gonna have to move on to a few callers, but feel free to continue listening on. But you made a great point regarding automation, and you know, to me, automation really could be the thing that provides the whole entire Earth, all of humanity, with the greatest amount of freedom. It'll free us up so we could travel where we want to go and go do whatever we want to do. We don't have to worry about farming, and we don't got to worry about manufacturing and all that stuff, because the robots, the automation, the artificial intelligence, it's handling all that stuff for us. Or on the flip side, it's the thing that is actually going to reduce our freedom the most, because then, you know, if we find ourselves in a situation, which is the trajectory we're on right now, where we're kind of this technology, the automation, the artificial intelligence, it's monopolized by either governments or corporations or a combination of both. And then the working people, the working class, is kind of at the mercy of the people that are in charge of this technology, man. And so that's what I think is the conversation that needs to be talked about. Unfortunately, in the political scene right now, you got Trump thinking that the biggest thing we got to do is ban Muslims from entering the country. He's so far off point here that it's like people that actually think that he's talking a legitimate economic policy, it's like I want to slap people, because it's like insane, because he's like just a complete distraction. But anyway, man, we got a few other callers. Continue listening on UCY.tv.
Okay.
Our next caller is from the 618 area code. How's it going? You're on the Anti-Media. Do you want to continue this conversation here? Okay, 618 dropped. All right, our next caller in line was from 830 area code. How's it going? You still there?
Yeah, what's up, man? It's Cassius.
Hey, what's up, bro? How you doing?
Doing great, man. How are you?
Really good. I got Jake in the studio. We got Claire on the line. DB's over there in Minnesota. I'm presuming he's freezing out there right now. I don't know for sure.
He went MIA. I think he's out there. Are you there?
Sunday, yeah, dude. On Sunday it was -30. It was fun.
Oh my God.
It's a little chilly.
Yeah. So you were in your tank top and flip flops.
No, dude. That's like four layers. Just it still creeps in somehow.
Oh man.
So Cassius, we're on this topic of automation, man, and I don't know if you got to read the article today that Claire wrote about Stephen Hawking and his message, his warning, really, that he put out there. But what do you think about all this?
Well, that's one of my favorite topics, as you know, man. I think that it's of critical importance to comprehend. If we're going to try to prepare for the future, you know, we're trying to make a good future. We're trying to make things better. We have to anticipate the things that are going to be factors in the future. So we're staring into the face of one of the most important factors there is. And if we're going to be prepared for the future, we're going to make a good future, we have to take these things into consideration. So how do we assess what is, what technology is going to be prevalent in the future, what could possibly be threatening, what could possibly be enlightening, what's the most important thing to focus on. AI is a hot topic, for good reason, but I think that we should look at it like, what would be the best way to prioritize what we're going to focus on with this? Because, one thing I've noticed in a lot of people that have tried to internalize knowledge, a lot of people that have tried to, go this path of activism, it's hard to have a good priority. It's hard to know what is the best thing to focus on, what is really the best use of our efforts. So if there's anything I could say about that, I say let's prioritize correctly, and let's be efficient, and let's focus on what truly bears significance to our future. Let's focus on what matters, I'm focused on agorism. I'm focused on, counter economics, like what you were talking about before. But what's the topic again?
So Cassius, you've written extensively about DARPA, and one of the warnings that Hawking was kind of talking about, and we included this in the article today, was the militarization of a lot of these advanced technologies. And now, we know that DARPA is the Pentagon program to develop advanced technologies, including robotics, drones, AI, and deploy that in a military fashion. And this is one of the things that Stephen Hawking is really worried about is the advancement of technology and how it's going to be used for military purposes. So, I mean, what do you think about that? I know you've done a lot of research on DARPA and all of their advancements. They've got robots now in the field. I mean, there's pretty soon, I'd say in the next 10 years, we're going to start seeing android-type soldier, literally robot soldiers out in the field fighting rather than human boots on the ground. And that whole human element is going to be taken out of warfare in the very, very near future. I mean, what do you think? What do you make of all this, man?
So what I make of that is it's a topic that I've been meaning to write about for a long time, but I haven't really had the motivation for it yet. It's a headline something along the lines of DARPA corrupts young geniuses with bottomless funds. That's what it is. I think that we could focus on the fact that there are young geniuses out there. They're young geniuses, DARPA is out trying to actively recruit the young geniuses and give them bottomless financial incentives to use their genius to focus on the most horrible shit that you could imagine. That's what money does. When you have bottomless funds, you have the ability to recruit young geniuses and use this all-corroding force of money to get that genius to work on something that's totally, counterproductive to the progression of humanity. So what do we do as a solution? My creative solution is to reach out to these young geniuses. Who are these young geniuses? Who are these people that are, these potential engineers that are growing up? They need to make money. They end up working for DARPA. Who are these people? Let's reach out to those people. Let's find some strategic way to talk to them and say, you know what? Everyone's life would be much better if you chose to be strong and not be corrupted by that money, and instead go the harder route and use that genius for something that's going to pay off in the long term for you, for your community, for everybody. Let's reach out to the young geniuses and say, look, man, if you use your genius to work for DARPA, you're using your great power to destroy the world. You have to think harder about it. You're a genius, focus on the political background behind this, You could be a total genius, but if you have a foundation of understanding about the world that is not a correct foundation, you think politics are different than they are, and then based on this false foundation, you work for DARPA, the world's going to be messed up. So how do we reach out to these people?
That's a great point, dude. And there's a really famous example of what you're talking about right now, and it's with Einstein. Einstein actually was he was working on atomic research and that kind of thing, but he never really planned on his work being used to make nuclear bombs. You know what I mean? And later on, after World War II, he expressed publicly regrets about his work because he was like, "Damn, my research was used to kill hundreds of thousands of people and potentially millions of people and even billions now. with the H bomb and the all that nuclear technology that could be potentially fall into the wrong hands, and it's already in the wrong hands, really, if you ask me. I think you're onto something there. I think we need to appeal to the conscious. So a lot of these young scientists, and one of the problems is that a lot of these guys, they work on such a small aspect of these weapon systems that they don't realize exactly what they're actually doing. It's like, oh, we need you to build this, little GPS system. They think they're only working on something that's for one thing, and then later on they realize, oh, damn, that was going to be used for a guided missile. I had no clue. I wouldn't have done that if I had known. And so it's a good point, man. I got to take this next caller here. We got a caller from 340 area code. How's it going? Are you still with us? 304. Sorry, are you still there?
Hello?
Yeah, you're
Can
on
you hear me?
Outside Media. How's it going?
Oh, hi. I'm from Elkins, West Virginia. This is my very first time tuning into the Anti-Media Radio. I've been following a bunch of your posts on Facebook trying to get into what's been going on lately. And the recent post I saw was when gasoline is cheaper than bottled water. And I got to bring it up real quick.
Yeah, that's the promo meme we use for the radio show tonight, and that's awesome that you bring that up, because that's actually the next topic we're going to talk about, is what's going on over there in Michigan, in particular Flint, Michigan, where now they're dealing with a lead poisoning crisis in their public water supply, and this is a very big topic. They've tested the blood of the children in the city of Flint, and they found that there's elevated levels of lead. And as we know, lead is very detrimental to the health of the youth, and it can cause mental issues, brain damage, developmental issues, birth defects, and all sorts of things like that. And now the other counter narrative that we have here is also the oil prices, and this is kind of what the meme was referring to here. Now, oil prices have taken a beating in the stock markets. They're down to around $27, lowest point, I believe, since 2003. It's the lowest oil has been since the Great Recession, and it's actually looking like it may go even further. Some analysts are saying oil may fall to $20 and even $10 a barrel. I mean, think about this: the actual barrels cost like $30 to manufacture, but at this point now in Michigan, the price of gas has fallen. In one place, it fell down to below 50 cents a gallon for gas in Michigan. So, the average gallon of water, when I go to the store, it's about between $1 and $2 for a gallon of clean water. So caller from 304, what do you think about that?
I think it's absolutely crazy. I would have never thought something like that could have ever happened. That's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, it really is, and it's such a weird phenomena going on, but there are definitely some major factors at play here, and one of the things that I've been seeing, and one of the main themes here regarding why the oil prices and then subsequently the gas prices are falling so much is because the global demand for oil is taking a steep fall off, and so the reason why people are saying the stock market is now going into a correction. Now, the stock market is down about 10% since New Year. It's the worst start to a new year for the stock market in its history, even worse than during the Great Depression. And so, we're really on unsteady ground. The recent results, the recent data coming out from the retail sector, the holiday sales, the fourth quarter economics has been really negative. It looks like the economy is really on uncertain ground, and many are saying that we're headed to the next.
Edge.
What was that?
The economy right now is on edge.
Yeah, it really is.
It's really hard to make times meet. It's dramatic.
Well, they're saying that these are similar economic conditions as before the 2007. A lot of the indicating factors are, very similar to before the 2000 recession. So, this is a lot of people are freaking out and scared. CNN was basically had a chart today about a way to gauge the fear of the stock market, and it was at extreme fear. That was CNN's take today.
Well, I just saw something that said the IMF is actually telling China that it is a good idea, in fact, to move to digital currency. So,
Wow.
Interesting. Maybe
Yes, tie it in with the social credit score.
Exactly, digital currency. No. Let's go to gold, because digital currency, yeah, I think that's a step in the wrong direction. This is Sesame credit. Oh man,
Cryptocurrency is certainly nothing to shy away from. It's going to be the future of how agorist communities can create internal wealth for their communities.
Cryptocurrency for your virtual dealings and hard currency for your in real life stuff.
Yeah.
That's a debate on that. I disagree with that.
Well, if the dollar fails and gold fails, how maybe DB can shed some light on this. How
what we need is cannabis coin.
Yeah, cannabis coin.
There you
throw it, and it's.
I'm just concerned about the possibility of a digital currency being even more unstable than a dollar or something. If it can be. I mean, it just seems like it opens up to so many possibilities. Like, what if someone hosting?
Cassius, you're very much for a decentralized structure to society, and that's precisely what cryptocurrency is a decentralized monetary system.
Is it decentralized, or does someone have to host a file that has the information from all that shit? I can't comprehend it. I don't really know. No, I can't say that I'm not for it. I'm not sure.
Right.
I just don't know.
See, that's one of the biggest problems with cryptocurrencies is that it's so hard to understand. Like, 90% of people out there don't even know what it's about.
But the people who do understand it many of them are inherently, some of them are inherently anarchistic, and the idea Bitcoin is a decentralized currency. That's what it is. There's no overarching hierarchy that determines the value of the cryptocurrency.
There's a file that, what I've heard is that there's a file that stores some kind of data from all the transactions that were done with Bitcoin or something. And to my understanding, it's complicated. So it would make me feel better about it if it were backed up by gold or something tangible. But right now, silver and gold seems to be my favorite option personally. I'm not discounting the idea, but I think I'd rather stick with silver and gold.
Well, the U.S. dollar, as we all know, is backed by metal. Unfortunately, it's in the form of steel and titanium, and it's by tanks and jets and that kind of thing. And so that's obviously not a good route. So I think it's good to look for alternatives. Now, as we slide into this economic uncertainty, now we've been on uncertain grounds in the economy for a long time. I mean, ever since 2008 and the massive bailouts, and everyone lost their homes, and everyone's been kind of questioning what the hell's actually going on. But now this what's looking like a incoming recession or maybe worse, it's now become a reality. We're now in the middle of it. We've got to wait and see how it plays out. I mean, is it going to be stimulus? I know there's already talks about bailing out the oil industry, and that's something we may be covering in the next few days on the anti-media as well.
Well, Nick, the thing you really need to worry about, which is probably why they're pushing gun confiscation now, is a bail-in, where they just take all the people's deposits.
That's and
you mean a rush on the bank, kind of an inverse rush on.
I mean, Iran will hit us with some kind of a virus, and there'll be a collapse in the online banking system, and everybody will go to zero.
Right.
I don't think it's going to take that much. I think the economy is going to tank well before anybody has a chance to do anything strategic, planning-wise about this. I mean, all indications. Like I'm looking right now, and there's the top economist who predicted the 2008 crash has said that the entire world's economy is like perilously close to collapse anyway. So, I mean, I just don't see there being time for anybody to plan anything nefarious. I think the economy is going to take care of itself.
Yeah, they don't need to. It's kind
No,
of kind of a waste of effort. You know,
And
it's just,
that's what DB was saying. This is something that has actually taken place recently in Cyprus and Greece, where they actually froze banking. They froze the banking, they froze your deposits, and they pulled a 20-30% premium off of your deposits, and they just gave it to the government. I mean, I think that happened over in Cyprus, which is of
So
course.
imagine 100%.
right. I've sent a few desperate messages to DB asking what I should do, and each time he replies with a really weird emoticon, and then get some gold and silver. But I'd love a more nuanced. DB? Do you have Bitcoin?
No, not at all. If it's not tangible, I mean, how can you possibly protect it?
Well, if you had invested in
I agree.
Bitcoin when it first came out, you'd be a millionaire right now. You know,
Well,
that,
of
right?
course, but yeah, that just speaks to who presented it. I mean, it's an insider's currency, dude.
Yeah,
I
not
wanna go
necessarily.
Aaron
When it first
Hopkins
came
and
out,
then
before the
Island
government said the government came out 2 years ago and officially embraced cryptocurrency. So when it first came out, you didn't need to be an insider. You just needed to have the prescience to imagine the possibilities of cryptocurrency and how the government was inevitably going to have to embrace cryptocurrency. And I have regrets, deep regrets, that I didn't invest in Bitcoin.
Well, I think I mean I.
Well,
I
buy
asked my-
Chipotle stocks right now, dude.
What's that?
So buy Chipotle right now.
I've got my own skepticism about cryptocurrencies, and I have some of the same concerns that DB and both DB and Cassius have voiced. However, I do think it is a viable option for virtual dealings, internet-based transactions, and stuff like that. Maybe have your hard currency, and then you convert it to Bitcoin, use it to buy something online, and then that's it.
Also, if you want to have someone
I don't
killed-
think it's a good idea to hold all of your paycheck in Bitcoin.
No.
Because then if something happens to it, the market crashes on it, or it gets hacked, someone hacks you, whatever. That's not a scenario you want to be in. But I think it definitely plays its part in a future that is hopefully a future of competing diverse currencies. We're not waiting on a monopolized currency to come hold down our financial security. Claire,
Here's a theory. So maybe instead of Bitcoin or gold or silver, or fiat currency or anything else, maybe we should all be investing in organic seed banks at this point.
Yes.
Interesting idea.
Land, we got to just have the balls to get off the system right now. We've been talking about this for so long. When are we just going to go get some land and say anyone that wants to come put their labor into this can come survive with us?
Let's go to
25
Aaron
acres in
Hopkins
Iowa
is
is
doing it
100
right now.
grand.
But I'll tell you this: if you want to if you're trying to make a hit, like if you need to off someone, you're gonna have to do it through cryptocurrency. Sorry.
yeah, Bernanke's on the run. They got like a
No, there's a deep web. There's a dark deep web network for using
Assassination
network. That's what they're called.
Yeah,
And,
there's a major bounty on Ben Bernanke's head in Bitcoin.
don't discount that
doesn't work, though. It
as a
doesn't
future
ever-
way of adjusting the system. Don't discount.
You know what's funny? The anonymity of it makes it to where no one actually carries out the hit because they don't even know if they're going to get paid. So it doesn't work.
No, they have a way. Look, I don't understand Bitcoin very well either, but I do know enough to know that there is a chain chain code that they have a way of verifying and confirming the service or product rendered that it was done. And that's how this assassination network works. Now, look, I'm not endorsing an assassination network, but there is an internal logic to Bitcoin that works. I'm not a Bitcoin advocate. I'm just saying, I don't even know how we got on the subject, frankly.
Well, we're addressing half of the meme for the promo for the radio show tonight, which was about the oil prices, the economy. Man, keep an eye on the stock market. Is this something, and especially if you've got any of your livelihood tied up in the stocks, if you got a 401k, any of that stuff, keep an eye on this because it doesn't look very good when it comes
The
to
only thing that's safe is like municipal bonds right now, really.
Yeah, and people are now fleeing into hard assets like we were mentioning, gold, silver, that those prices are going up at this time. Whenever there's an economic downturn, that's what happens. But the other half of the meme was talking about Flint, Michigan, and Flint is dealing with, as I briefly mentioned, this lead poisoning crisis in their water supply, and this is awful, awful news. I mean, horrible news for the kids out there that are going to be drinking this stuff. We found out that the governor of Michigan, Rick Snyder, and his administration pretty much knew about what was going on there, and they decided that it wasn't that big of a deal, and they weren't going to really do much about it. And now, because of someone leaking emails, or I don't know if they were leaked or if they were obtained by Freedom of Information Act requests, but we find out that they knew about it this whole time and didn't really do much about it. And so there was even calls for the governor of Michigan to be arrested, which, of course, as we know with politics, hardly ever happens and probably won't. But at least,
New Era Detroit push for that. I think they're so active right now. They're going marching up to politicians, the governor's office, and just chanting strong people trying to get politicians out of there that were responsible for this. They went and delivered water to Flint before any of these people started donating, and I covered that, and I think that was amazing. I think that if someone wanted to donate money to this, they should donate to a grassroots organization like New Era Detroit instead of, Red Cross or something like that. Forget all those monopoly charities. Donate to a New Era Detroit, a neighborhood activist group that is, I think they're on point.
Yeah, and so amid all of this, corruption and ineptitude by these government agencies, the governor's office, the mayor of Flint, and whoever else okayed this water to be used, the city council, you name it. I mean, there's a bunch of politicians out there that are kind of guilty of allowing this to happen. Amid all that ineptitude, you got a bunch of awesome groups, including New Era Detroit, which is an activist group out of Detroit that is out there delivering water to the people of Flint to help them, give them something to drink since they can't drink the tap water. You've also got a Muslim group called Who Is Hussein, who donated 30,000 bottles of water to Flint. And you've also got a Native American tribe out there. What tribe was it? The Little River Band of Ottawa Indians in Manistee, Michigan, has donated $10,000 to the cause to try to help them. And this story, even though Flint isn't the biggest city in Michigan, it has become a major national narrative. I think even Hillary Clinton addressed it.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. But this is something big, and this has to do with our water, and as one of the callers was talking about earlier, water is a major cornerstone of life. Food, water, shelter. These are the three things that we really need. Health and energy, they come kind of secondary, but it's really messed up when a relatively poor community like Flint, Michigan, is being poisoned on a wholesale scale through their water supply, man, and it's harming the children the most. I mean, adults, you get lead poisoning and it's not good for your health, but kids, it messes up your development for good,
Can I just add, too, that these people, and I think they might still be paying for the water that's poisoning them.
Right, probably.
Yeah, and they're sending out overdue notices, too, for the people that haven't paid their water bill. It's like, hey, pay up, guys.
And really,
hey, you got to pay for that poison.
Really, what does it take? At what point will people rise up? What does it take? I would think that, your children being poisoned might be a catalyst. I guess I was wrong. I don't know. At what point will people break out of their cognitive dissonance and say, this is wrong, walk out onto the street? If everyone walks out onto the street, you boycott work. I know it's you figure out a way to pool resources in your community. You boycott work. You walk out on the street. Martial law.
Pitchforks and torches territory, I think.
Well, I hate to be the token. I hate to be the token conspiracy theorist here, but they probably got fluoride in the water too. I'm just kidding.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, I
We
mean,
have to support
they placated
the
us in
people that are already doing it.
Go ahead, man.
We have to support the people that are already rising up, because little do we know that there are already people that are deciding to do this thing
You're right.
that we're talking about that we've never even heard of. So what we got to do is find those people that are living the philosophy and all support each other. We have to make more concerted efforts to find and promote the people that are actually doing this. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely, I agree with you. That's a great point. But my point still remains, which is, when does the middle American who had never had a thought of anarchy, never had a thought of civil disobedience whatsoever, at what point do they point the finger in the right direction and get angry and say, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore? Like, where's the breaking point?
Yeah,
there?
and this is also an indictment to me. This is also an indictment of, like, government control over the water too. I think we need to start shifting towards more like community cooperative water supplies and things like that, where it's maybe a community-owned cooperative that is in charge of the water supply, and it's a little more reflective of the people's demands and the will of the people. To have the mayor's office in charge of the water supply. I know there's plenty of communities out there, and I don't want to jump on this fluoride conspiracy theory stuff, but there's plenty of communities out there that say, hey, look, we don't want fluoride in our water. But the mayor's office and the local government's like, too bad, guys. It's for your own good. We're going to mass medicate you because it's what's good for you. And I don't want to say it's good or bad, but you got to remember that these guys are supposed to be representing the will of the people.
Right.
And this case here in Flint is just a major indictment of that scenario, man. This issue has been going on for over a year, dude, and they're not being public advocates. They're not out there. The government's not out there representing the people's interests in Flint. They're allowing them to be poisoned on a whole scale by lead. It's ridiculous, man. It's infuriating.
And they're sitting on literally the biggest freshwater supply on the planet. It's the
it's
stupidest
on the
thing
Great
ever.
Lakes. It's like, dude, you got a huge water supply right there. I want to go back to the caller from 304. What do you make of this whole situation, man?
It's just practically insanity that, people actually have to settle with lead water and they don't get anything to drink that's healthy, and they're literally destroying themselves. And like the one woman previously mentioned, that they still have to pay for this water, and it's just not pure. Not only that, but the Muslim groups that donated like 30,000 bottles of water. What was that in Michigan?
Yeah, Flint, Michigan.
I don't have all my facts straight. I'm trying to look more into this and figure out everything that's going on, but so you said the mayor should have been arrested for the lead poisoning of the water?
Well, there was a concerted effort. I think it was last week. They were calling on the governor of Michigan to be arrested after some emails came out that they had known for months about what was going on in Flint, but they didn't do anything about it. And so that kind of triggered this campaign to try to get the governor arrested, but nothing really happened of it.
How about they divest all resources, divest everything from the corporations involved? See, we've got to have an accountability for corporations that are doing this. I'm talking Exxon. I'm talking any corporation.
They're people. Why can't we just execute them?
Right, exactly. You're talking about a corporatocracy that has all the rights of an individual, but none of the responsibilities, none of the criminal responsibilities of one, and that simply has to change.
Yeah, great
I mean,
point.
they're higher in power. The higher in power you are, the more privileges you get. I mean, that's just the way it seems.
Exactly.
If you're lower in power, it doesn't even matter. You're getting clipped one way or another.
Yep. The more power you got, the more immunity you got. That's the end of the show here. Thank you all for tuning in. Keep in mind, we're on the Anti-Media Radio every night during the week, 5 days a week, same place, same time here on UCY.tv. Go to theantimedia.org/radio. Make sure you follow our website.
Peace. Yo, here we go.
Hope you're doing well.
Stereo.